And they're like 11 or 13 years old and they're doing drugs like that.
They look like candy, but they're not.
It is very scary, honey. Very, very scary.
Tonight, CBS News Miami with an important safety alert.
CBS News Miami uncovering new and startling information about the number of teens, children, and even toddlers overdosing on THC edibles. This year, in fact, we're on track to reach record numbers here in the state of Florida.
I talked to teens, parents, and experts about the concerning trend and have important information to keep your kids safe.
Students here at Lauderdale Lakes Middle School in Broward County tell me it has been a big topic of conversation in their homes and among each other. 3 students were recently hospitalized for showing signs of an overdose linked to THC edibles, and a similar event just 2 weeks prior to that one, where a student ate THC edibles mistaking it for regular candy. With their parents' permission, I spoke with students about the issue. 8th grader Malia Palmer told me what happened hit too close to home.
2 of the girls that it happened to, they're in my class, and the other girl, I'm really good friends with her. So basically what they're saying is that they took some, edibles. They took edibles and they overdosed on it.
She told me young people getting a hold of edibles is more common than parents might think, and that her mother had an important conversation with her not to take candy from anyone, even classmates.
My biggest concern is how they're actually just doing it without any second thoughts. It actually breaks my heart a little bit because they're so young. They're like 11 or 13 years old and they're doing drugs like that.
11-year-old Pablo Lopez also told me that some of his classmates take edibles.
I try and tell my friends too, don't do that, and that's kind of messed up with them.
His mother told me she is aware of the situation.
It is very scary, honey. Very, very scary. Every day I just pray that, the conversations that I have with my children, they're sinking in, they're taking my advice.
Here at the Poison Control headquarters in South Florida, they have been flooded with calls of young people overdosing on cannabis edibles. Symptoms of a cannabis edibles overdose range from extreme anxiety, panic attacks, or hallucinations to major effects that would be considered life-threatening, including multiple seizures and sedation to the point where the person was no longer responsive or having difficulty breathing. And the numbers of cannabis edibles overdoses has never been higher.
For the past 3 years, we've been averaging about 11 calls per week. And then we've had a recent peak, though, just in January here, where we had 25 calls per week. So we're watching that with some alarm. But we really haven't seen, children in the hospital with seizures, in the past. So families are really shocked. Of course, they feel terrible, but they're blindsided by this, and we don't want that. We want people to have some understanding. If you bring it into your home, you have to use it with caution.
Medical marijuana is legal in Florida, so it's in households. Experts say in many cases, youth are finding the edibles in their homes.
If you had asked me this 6 years ago, I think we had about 5 cases. This year, I think we're several hundred, probably close to about 800 by the end of the year, this past year.
Poison control workers say they are doing a lot of outreach work to raise awareness here in South Florida. They compiled the very latest data for me.
We've seen a 24% increase year over year for the edibles specifically. Remember, we do get calls about other forms of marijuana, but really the edibles are where we're most concerned about harm.
The problem is big, but experts say the solution is simple. Secure your medications.
And you have some examples of options for families.
Yeah, exactly. So starting right at the dispensary, if people are using, a licensed dispensary, they can choose a child-safe packaging option. This is another option, not just for cannabis products, but any medication. This is great for travel.
South Florida poison control workers say if you use medical cannabis, make sure it's locked up and have the potentially life-saving conversation with your youth, not to take candy from anyone unless you are absolutely certain what you're taking.
Take a look at this image of THC edibles in the Doritos bag. And now here is a regular bag of Doritos. You have to look really close to see the word medicated in the small white box at the bottom. It says 600 milligrams of THC. And how about these M&Ms? Here is the cannabis edibles version, and now here is the real candy. A child could easily mistake these copycat bags of edibles for the real chips or the real candy. Poison control workers asked me to stress that if there is ever an emergency, give them a call. They told me that all calls to the center are confidential and they are available 24 hours a day. If you have a poisoning emergency, you can call 1-800-222-1222 to speak to a trained professional. And we want to make it perfectly clear that the THC edibles that I just showed you in our comparison are not made or authorized by the manufacturers of Doritos or M&Ms. The products are just made to look like the real thing.
And that's the real scary thing about this. And of course, more adults are using these edibles around the house, and kids are imitate what they see parents do. So if they see the parents eating them at home, they're likely to eat them as well, I guess. How big is this problem, Naja?
Yeah, and you're exactly right with that point, Jim. Poison control officials told me that we are on pace to reach a record in 2024. And I really want parents at home to know that this is not just something impacting older children. Poison control told me that they recently had a call about a 13-month-old. And I dive more into that part of our story online. You can go to cbsmiami.com for my extended report.